The content of your presentation is prepared. You've got your PowerPoint, your notes, and maybe other visuals prepared to give your presentation. But let's talk about how you can make the structure of your presentation more fluent and flowing. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can do that by using phrases known as signposts. These phrases will help signal to you and your audience what stage of the presentation you're in, and it will make you sound much more fluent and confident when you give your presentation. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Miranda. I'm an English teacher and I teach English to the international community at international organizations, and I've been doing this for over 15 years. This channel is my pet project and it allows me to make English instruction more accessible and free to anyone, anywhere who wants to learn it for work or for pleasure. Now, we've talked about introducing your presentation in another one of my videos, which I will link at the end of this one. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to go from topic to topic in a smooth and flowing way. You can do this by using something called signposting. Now, a signpost is just a brief expression or phrase you can use to introduce each part of your presentation, depending on the point of it. This can be helpful to you and your audience because it gives your presentation structure and it makes you sound very confident. The first phrase I would like you to use is to move on. You can use this when you go from one topic to the next in a natural way. For example, you can say, if I could just move on to the next topic now, and then you move on to the next topic. A less formal way to express that is to say, moving right along to the next topic in my presentation, and then you move on. If you need to change the direction of your presentation, you could use turn to. This is a phrasal verb too. I'd like to turn now to the plans for next year. If I may turn now to the topic of next year's plans. If you need to refer back to something you've already said during your presentation, you could use the expression go back. Let's go back to what I was saying earlier. Allow me, if you will, to go back to the point I was making about internet safety at the office. Now, going back to the reasons for reducing staff, so these are just ways to introduce the next topic. If you want to give your audience a wider perspective about something, maybe your slides don't go into too much detail and you want to expand on it, you can use the phrasal verb expand on. Let me expand on this to give you a wider perspective. Allow me to expand on the figures in this slide. Whereas expand gives people a wider perspective, you could use elaborate to give a deeper perspective, to go into more detail on something. So elaborating on this point, for those of you who are new to the team, I'd like to elaborate on this point to clear up any open questions you may have. If you start to go off on a tangent that is not related to your presentation, you could use the word digress. Allow me to digress, if I may, to talk about an unrelated but serious issue. You can also use digress if you feel that the presentation is going too far off topic. In that case, you can say, I feel we're digressing a bit far from the topic. Could we please get back to the main points of my presentation? The next word I'd like you to use is to recap. To recap means to repeat what has already been said in simpler form. It's always a good idea to recap what has been said, especially if you're giving a longer presentation. You can do this by saying, at this point, I'd like to recap the main points of my talk. I'll just recap the main points briefly for those of you who arrived to the presentation late. And to summarize is to give the basics or the main point of your presentation. To summarize, we need to pay more attention to what our clients want. I'd like to take a moment to summarize the most urgent lesson learned. And to conclude is when you end your presentations. You can do this after taking questions, when everyone's done asking questions, or you're at the end of your presentation. And you don't have to conclude with a summary. I'd like to conclude, if I may, by repeating what I said in my introduction. I'll conclude by reminding everybody to pay attention to the points outlined here today. Or I'll conclude by wishing everybody a nice weekend. I'll conclude by thanking you all for joining me today. I'll conclude by thanking you for your time and attention and for listening to my presentation. Signposts are best when they're short, simple, and concise. They'll make you sound more confident. They'll make you also feel more confident because you can use them at every stage of your presentation. I hope you enjoyed today's phrases, and if you have any questions or would like to request a video related to presentations or any other topic, please let me know in the comments. And like I said, if you want more presentation phrases or tips on giving presentations at work, you can follow this link or this link. Take care and have a nice day.